is coming. So I'm out here in the garage today with my Case 448 garden tractor. I'm gonna go ahead and put on my snowcaster for the winter. So just a quick overview about how this attaches to the front of your tractor. It's gonna go right about there. It's gonna use those pins on either side to hold it in place. So if you've got anything else on there at the moment, you gotta take that off first, as that is used for the snowcaster. Basically the assembly goes, it just mounts on there, that holds the bulk of it to your tractor. And then there'll be an arm that runs up the right side. So this side right here. And then that arm's gonna hook right onto here, and that's gonna be used to lift and lower your snowblower using your attachment lever right there. So in the past, I've put this on outside, which is where I keep the snowblower during the summer months. That always hasn't gone the best, so I've got it inside this year on a nice flat and level surface. That's going to make it a lot easier to actually get it mounted on the front of the tractor and have things go on there smoothly. So that's just something I'd recommend going into this. But with that, let's get to it. So if you've got this arm still attached to your snowblower, I'm just going to take this out for the moment. Set it off to the side because that's just going to kind of be in the way while I get the main unit attached. And I can put this arm on later, which will be my arm that goes up to my lift lever. All right, so looking at this on the ground, it's going to go basically on like this. It'll just be a little higher up in the air. You see these two holes here. Those are going to fit right in here and are going to be secured by those pins. And then these lower holes are kind of open holes rather. On the back here, there'll be this piece of metal that drops down. And on the back side of this, there'll be another pin right there, and that's where those holes are going to rest and keep things in place on that front. So I'm going to put the tractor in neutral just to make this easier to move around when I'm trying to get this attached. So I'll just kind of manually adjust where the snowblower sits. I'm hitting right here right now, so I just got to push it a little bit that way. And what I want to do is line up these lower holes first. And now that's fitting in between there, I'll come around and actually lift on it and push those up in there. All right, so what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna lay kind of on the side of the tractor, right behind the front wheel. And I'm just gonna lift and pull on this. And that's gonna get those lower holes secured on those pins. So now I'm gonna be able to lift up this top part. And actually, really all you gotta do is kind of push your arm on the chute. That lifts it pretty easily. And then you even can kind of pull the tractor forward to make sure those bottom ones are staying tight. And I'm gonna release this pin here. And you should be able to kind of wiggle that around and get that popped in there. So now that's one's in place. Just sticking out the other side. Now I just do the same thing on the other side. And this one's not quite lined up. It looks like the blower's a little bit too far back, so I'm just going to take on the front of the blower, pull on it a little bit, and there we go. Just line that up with some wiggling, and now it's popped in there and ready to go. All right, so that was the hardest part there. It's much easier on a harder surface. You know, a nice hard level flat surface rather than doing it outside in the grass or something. But once you've got that on, we can now move on to our lift arm and get that attached. All right, so one word of warning before you put this on. We've got our handle here to turn our chute. Make sure that is attached already right down here and threaded through this lift arm before you actually put the lift arm on, because you won't be able to get it on afterwards. So what you've got to do, there's just a loop at the end of this rod. And that's just going to hook around that loop. turning that's going to turn your shoe left or right. So you just kind of leave that where it is for now, and it'll end up where it goes once you get this threaded in here. So that's our next step. So I'm just going to get it through the first hole there for now, and then I'm going to line it up over here before I kind of finish things off. So again, this hole is going to fit right on this pin here. As you can see, we're overshooting it just a little bit right now, so I'm going to have to turn on the tractor and just move my lifting mechanism until that pin is lined up with my hole. Are you kidding me? All right, so we just had to move that very slightly. So now I'm just going to kind of guide my other end into that far hole over there, as I'm also guiding this hole onto this pin here. So I'll kind of get close. And now that that's on there, I'm just going to take just my little pin, so that stays in place. And then over here, I've got another pin just to keep this side on here. All right, so now at this point, you've got everything set up with your Snowcaster. So you've got it attached to the front. You're gonna be able to raise and lower it with your attachment lever. The only thing we need to do now is put on the belt so we can get power to the unit itself. All right, so with your belt, what you're going to want to do first, or what I usually do first, is get it attached around the engine here. So basically you're going to kind of just loop it and then kind of feed it up around your fan. And then there's a pulley right here. That's basically where we're going to want our belt to sit on. So to do that, I'm going to go down underneath the frame. I'm going to kind of peek it up here. Now there's this kind of arm in the way that you can see right there. So that's actually part of the clutch mechanism that turns on the attachment whenever you're running off of that pulley on the engine. So that's actually operated by this. So one trick is if you engage that, that's going to move that arm out of the way. So then you've got plenty of clearance to get your belt through. All right, so I've got it fed up through here now. I'll just kind of reach around the fan, guide it past the blades. Once it's around there, then it should just sit right in that groove. And I'll just kind of pull it down tight, and then I'll work on this section down here next. So at this point, I'm going to just double check my instructions here. This is just the label printed on the side of my Snowcaster to show how the belt goes on. So we've already done this step. We've got it around the attachment drive clutch up on the engine. And then we got these two dropping down. So we're going to put one side through here, the other side through here. And then it's going to cross over kind of here in the middle. And then there's one big pulley on the Snowcaster itself right there. That's this guy right here. So that's going to go on there. On this one as well, we've got our V side up right here into the groove of that pulley. We're going to do the same thing on the big pulley. We're going to have the groove set down into the pulley itself. And then we're going to have the V running downwards once we're making this stretch along here to this other pulley. And on that pulley, the back of the belt is going to be tight against it and not the V side. All right, so I basically got that in there already. So now I'm just gonna pull up this end and get it around my big pulley on my Snowcaster. All right, so I've got my V side wrapped around this big pulley as well. And I'll come back over here and I just gotta make sure this belt is not twisted, which it actually is right now. So I'm just gonna turn that and guide it. So again, that flat side of the belt's going to be against this pulley right here. And then once we get to that point, we should have everything in place where we can go ahead and apply tension. I'm just going to check everything one more time to make sure it's all seated properly, especially up around the clutch, around the engine, just because that tends to move around when you're messing around with stuff down here. And sure enough, that slipped off of there. So I'm just going to reseat that in that pulley there. All right, great. So with everything in place, we can now apply tension to our belt, and that's going to be done using this lever and this spring you see right down here. And all you got to do is pull up on this lever. You can see the belt there tightening up. And then we just maintain that tension by pulling this up far enough where we can get this spring hooked onto this piece right here. Just like the belt looks good and tight now. Once again, now that everything's tight, I'm just going to double check it again just to make sure, again, nothing moved. And then if you did engage that clutch lever, just make sure you turn that off again. Just so the first time you start it up, you don't have the snowblower engaged when you're first testing it out, right when you start the tractor. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a try now. So it starts up and runs good, all ready for when the snow hits next week. Hope this video helped you out. Thanks for watching.